Good morning again. Wanted to share with you this morning that a mother was helping her son with his spelling assignment and came to the words conscious and conscience. When she asked him if he knew the difference between the two, he responded, "Sure, Mom. Conscious is when you are aware of something, and conscience is when you wish you weren't." So I want to talk today about the war within. And so I always try to find some things that are a little funny, a little humorous, to kind of take us into the message. But there really aren't many jokes about war. It's hard to make a joke about war. But I will tell you that this gentleman, this soldier from World War II, kept receiving irritating letters from his wife. So finally he wrote her back and said, "For goodness sakes, let me fight this war in peace." A newly promoted Army colonel moved into his new and impressive office. And as he sat behind his new big desk, a private knocked at his door. "Just a minute," the colonel said. "I'm on the phone." He picked up the phone and said loudly, "Yes, sir, General. I'll call the president this afternoon. No, sir, I won't forget." Then he hung up the phone and told the private to come in. "What can I help you with?" the colonel asked. "Well, sir," the private replied, "I've come to hook up your phone." Oh, these guys, Calvin and Hobbes. "How come we play war and not peace?" asked Hobbes. And Calvin responded, "Too few role models." Think about that. Think about that. That's true, isn't it? Here's the entire comic. How come we play war and not peace? Too few role models. "I'll be the fearless American defender of liberty and democracy," Hobbes says. And Calvin says, "And you can be the loathsome, godless, communist oppressor." "Oh, we're at war, so if you get hit with a dart, you're dead and the other side wins, okay?" He says, "Gotcha." And it's whap, whap. And they both have darts on them. Kind of stupid game, isn't it? When you both lose. So, do you remember these guys? Those little army men? Oh my gosh, I was a only daughter I had two brothers. So I was the annoying sister. I was younger, of course, and I remember wanting to play with them. And Rick, my brother, had his friend Steve over. I even remember his name. And they were playing with these guys. And I don't care. I didn't really care about that. I just wanted to be with them. I just wanted to hang out. I just wanted to play with them. And finally, I became so annoying, apparently, that Steve stood up and sucked me in the mouth. Oh. I know. I went, I can laugh about it now, but, what would you expect? If you're playing war, it's okay to hurt other people. And my opinion is that we're at war right now. Maybe the U.S. hasn't done anything in particular to call it war, but listen, folks, here we recognize our oneness. You know, we don't see each other as, maybe I'm stepping into dangerous territory, but I was going to say, you know, it's humanity is our family. Oneness is our truth in spirit. And I'll tell you, I got on the phone the other day, my niece lives up in Washington. And I wondered how she was feeling about all of this, you know, being at war thing. And it didn't surprise me when she said, I've been really depressed. And when Todd, her husband, has the news on, if I watch it, then she said, I just have to go to bed. And so Todd finally said, well, no more news. We're not going to do news anymore. And you know, my nephew, her brother, is married to a Russian immigrant. Just a lovely, lovely young lady. And so I was thinking about her too. And I was thinking, what must she be going through with her home country at war? So I texted her. And I asked her just that, you know, how are you doing? And we want you to know that we love you. And, you know, she just gave me a response back that let me know that she had received it. This is a hard thing, isn't it? And, you know, we've gotten very good at carrying on. We know how to carry on, don't we? We can't get stuck feeling sorry for people. We can certainly feel compassion, but what happens when we start to feel sorry for someone or something or a situation? We bring our energy down, and then we're of no good use to the person that or the people that we are caring about. Someone asked Albert Einstein one day, what kind of weapons would be used in the Third World War? Well, he answered, I don't know. But I can tell you what they'll use in the Fourth World War. They'll use rocks. There'll be nothing left. So here's do you remember For Better or For Worse, that I think they still have that comic in the newspaper. I was thinking about comics today. You know, the comics that are in the newspaper. They're not necessarily like laugh out loud funny. They seem to make a point, usually. And then the question becomes, it's a point that usually we can relate to, right? And so the question becomes, can we laugh at ourselves? Can we laugh at ourselves? Can we take ourselves lighter? So in For Better or For Worse, Mike and Brian have organized a boys' club, no girls allowed. And it says headquarters on the side of a large cardboard box. Brian says, it's got to be 1,000,000 degrees inside this box, Mike. Let's get out of here. Mike says, no way. As soon as we get out, Lizzie and her friends will take it. And I saw this refrigerator box first. It's mine. Brian says, but we're going to croak in here. We could get heat frustration and die. This doesn't make sense. To which Mike responded, this is war, Brian. It's not supposed to make sense. How are you responded? You know, last week when we had Armand and Angelina here, Armand sort of reminded us that the last 2 years have been difficult. And it goes back to what I said earlier about we adjust. We sort of kind of do the shift that we have to do to adjust to this new way of being, and we move on. But I think that there's a deeper effect on us than maybe what we recognize. And over the last couple of years, it really came out in lots of ways. It came out in our almost hatred towards each other when it came to choosing a politician to run the country. Hatred towards each other for whether we're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. And maybe you were on one of those sides. I know I got into judgment many times. And I felt hurt at times because I was expecting certain behavior from people who I thought loved me, and then they did, if they didn't do that thing, whatever it was, maybe they don't love me. But here we're finding, after all of that, and then the racial divisions, so much anger. And now it's taking war, literal war, to get us on the same side again. Now it's like the masks aren't so important anymore. We just want peace. We all just want peace. And you can argue, well, there are some people who don't want peace, clearly, because they're making war. But I feel sorry. That's probably not the right word. I have compassion for those who are making war. For one, I think about the kind of karma that creates in your life. And I don't believe that karma is, is meant to correct us. It's simply a balancing out. When you give out war, you will eventually get back war. Isn't that the very simple, very basic foundation of these teachings, that we get out what we get back what we put out. We put out negative energy, we get back negative energy. We put out war, we get back war. So I'm wanting to invite you to take a breath and acknowledge that it's been a very difficult couple of years. And it may have affected your relationships, some of your relationships. And Armand was here last week, and you could tell what he was really processing was that he lost friends through all of that. And he was trying to make that okay. And I've been there too. I'm trying to make it okay that certain people aren't in my life anymore. For whatever reason, whether it was related to the pandemic or not, there are some times that in a relationship becomes toxic. It's no longer healthy. And we need to walk away from those relationships. I feel like on the one hand that things are getting more difficult in our world. That things are tightening up. And it's so interesting because the tightening up seems to come from those who, are supposed to have greater wisdom and certainly more power. And then these newer generations are coming in and they're saying, hey, I'm not male and I'm not female. I'm not just interested in one partner or one gender, and they're saying, loosen up, folks. Let us be different from you. Let us be okay to just be who we are. And what we're realizing is there were a whole bunch of people out there long before these young people, but they just had to keep it in the closet because it wasn't safe for them to be out. It's the war within. And I like to laugh about my mom. And I were laughing about the other day. She made a comment. She said, you're matching. She said, your earrings are matching and your shirt is matching and even your shoes are matching. And then we had this whole discussion about how it's okay not to match. All you guys are like, of course. What is match? But we still, even, some of us, I won't say either male or female, but some of us still think, well, at least it has to go together. I can't go out if it doesn't go together. And we have these other rules too about when you can wear white or not wear white. Did you guys know that? Not supposed to wear white in the winter. Wait, did I miss something? You didn't know that you're not supposed to wear white in the winter? Well, you go, girl. I celebrate you. So, as we are being with all these changes and this upheaval, what are we doing with it? Because I find that I sometimes speed up. Am I trying to get away from the feeling? It's an uncomfortable feeling to know that we are at war. There are Americans there are Ukrainians who work for American companies. There's all this, in the last 2 years, this huge shift to remote work. So we're all over the place. We're all mixed in, guys. It's a melting pot, not just of the U.S., but of the world. And I like to extend it out into the universe and the multiverses. We can't get away from one another because we are one another. So there was a 1930s movie, maybe some of you saw it. It was about World War I. It was called All Quiet on the Western Front. Some of you saw that. Maybe you remember this scene. There's some soldiers and they're talking, and one of them asked, "Where do wars come from anyway?" And another replied, "Well, one country gets mad at another country and they start fighting." And the first soldier asked, "Do you mean that one piece of land gets mad at another piece of land?" "No," the guy replied. "The people of one country get mad at the people of the other country." Well, the first soldier picked up his rifle and started walking away. And when asked what he was doing, he said, "I'm going home. I'm not mad at anybody." So in 1955, some of you may remember hearing about this young girl by the name of Sadako. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she was one of the children who suffered the after effects of the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. She ended up living another 10 years after that. So she was 13 in 1955 when she passed, but during her illness, she buoyed her spirits by folding up, we call it origami, right? Little paper cranes. Because in Japan, the myth says that cranes live for 1,000 years. And the person who folds 1,000 cranes will have a wish granted. With each paper crane, Sadako wished that she would recover from the fatal disease. She folded 644 cranes before she died. And so in her memory, that's actually they made that of her, and she's holding a crane, a paper crane. Her classmates, in her memory, folded another 356 more cranes so that she could be buried with 1,000 paper cranes. And then they collected money from all over Japan to erect this monument in Hiroshima's Peace Park. And the inscription reads, "This is our cry. This is our prayer. Peace in the world." So we have these nuclear bombs, and at the time of many of what I've been referring to today, C.S. Lewis was writing, and he wrote this in 1948. He said, "In one way, we think a great deal too much about the atomic bomb. When asked how are we to live in an atomic age, I am tempted to reply, why? As you would have lived in the 16th century when the plague visited London almost every year. As you already are living in an age of cancer, an age of paralysis, an age of motor accidents. In other words, do not let us begin by exaggerating the novelty of our situation. Believe me, dear sir or madam, you and all whom you love were already sentenced to death before the atomic bomb was ever invented. And quite a high percentage of us are going to die in unpleasant ways. It's perfectly ridiculous to go about whimpering and drawing long faces because one more chance of a painful and premature death has been added to a world which already bristled with such chances, and in which death itself was not a chance at all, but a certainty. This is the first point to be made, and the first action to be taken is to pull yourselves together. If we're all going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things. Praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting with our friends over a game of darts. Do people still play darts? Not huddled together like frightened sheep and thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies, but they do not need to dominate our minds. Before closing, I'd like to share with you there is a movement afoot. It's called Unite the Light. And you may have seen it on Facebook. If you haven't connected with it, let me know and I'll make sure that you get connected. But they're inviting everyone to spend 30 minutes, at least once a day. For us, it's 10 a.m. So we've been doing that for the last 30 minutes or so. We are going to raise the vibes, or raise the vibration. And they talk about the difference between light inhale and light exhale, which I thought was a real interesting way to think about it. But we do think about sometimes in meditation, when we breathe in, we think about breathing in light. Or when we have somebody that we're praying for and we think about breathing out and sending them good healing energy. So that's what light inhale and light exhale is. But there's a further definition. Light inhale is those things that we can do in self-care to take care of ourselves. I used to a lot. I would run a hot bath after a long day or a long week, do all the bubbles up and light a candle, and that was my way of sort of decompressing. It was my self-care time. But here, I have a list. Light inhale activities. Go out and soak up the sun or soak up the moon. Light a candle and take a bath. Walk in nature. Listen to music and dance. Exercise your body temple. Nap. Have a therapy session with someone you trust. Get a massage, journal, meditate. Treat yourself to a tangible delight that lights you up. So these are all different possibilities. Be in silence and solitude. And then light exhale. And we're reminded, some of you, I don't think anybody here was born or came up in the 80s when there were Care Bears. Does anybody remember Care Bears? So they had this thing called the Care Bear stare, which is exactly what I was just talking about, beaming light out wherever it is needed. So you can kind of see from their sort of solar plexus and heart area, they're beaming light. So light exhale, laugh, dance, sing, play music, pray, meditate. Bring through benevolent, sacred energy. Call someone or several people to offer encouragement. Oh, which brings me to write down this number. 707-998-8410. It's actually a recording. I kind of was hoping I was going to get a live kindergartner who was going to give me a pep talk. But it is a recording, so it's a little school project, and it is very cool. We called all of us together, and we got a little pep talk from a kindergartner. So, we could really focus on all that is wrong in the world, or we can focus on what is right. Doesn't mean we're not feeling for and having compassion for those who are suffering. No, we're sending them light. And so it is. God bless you. So let's take that a little deeper. Let's have a time of meditation. So I'm going to invite you, maybe you will choose this time to be light inhale, and that's fine. Maybe you'll choose for this time to be light exhale. Simply a matter of giving or receiving. And the beautiful thing that we know here in Unity is that giving and receiving are one. So you really can't give it out without it coming back to you. And so we breathe deeply, just centering again on that area of the heart center, solar plexus area. Wow, there's so much going on there. There's so much power there. And so I'm going to imagine either inhaling into that center of my being or exhaling or both. Maybe we're going to do a little bit of both. Yeah, we do, don't we? Because that's what the breath is. It's this constant inhale and exhale. And we're just knowing and affirming today that it's all light. Whether it's coming in or going out. And in this space, it helps to gather up some appreciation. And so I invite you to imagine someone or something that you deeply appreciate. And when you imagine them, maybe you even feel their presence, and your vibration increases with that appreciation. And then you're raising the consciousness. You're raising your vibration so that what is coming in and going out, we can spread to a greater population of beings. Knowing that we are not separate. When you hurt, I hurt. When you are joyful, I am joyful. I am. And that is God within, our divine presence. And so this moment, this sacred time of meditation, we can imagine the body just disappearing and seeing the light being that you are and that everyone in this room is. And then there's just light. There's just one light. And we are it. And just seeing that light, that great light, continuing to expand and radiate out. Once again, out to encompass this country and all countries, the world, the universe, the multiverses. So it is. So it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let us enjoy a little Charlie Thweet here.